Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. This episode is so exciting because, as you know, I like to bring tools and resources to equip you with things that are going to make your life better. And with me today, my guest is going to do just that for you. He is the director of stocks with a company that is just exciting. I know this company, and you're going to eventually know it too, because we always talk with different people who have the tools and resources. But my guest today knows it so well because he started at the age of 12. Yes, 12 years old, learning about the stock market and was absolutely captured with just the amount of ins and outs with what was going on in the financial field. And at the early age of 12 to be able to do this, I don't know of many 12-year-olds that would do that, but he did. And this is what makes him an expert in what he does. He went on later to get an engineering degree, and he went and set off to get his licenses in Series 6 and 63. He can tell us a little bit more about what that means if you don't know, but he will share it with us. We'll talk today a little bit about trading and what that means for you and how you can learn, if you don't already know, how to make this better and how it can equip you to get your finances in a position where it will put you not only with a good foundation, but will give you a really great cushion. And if you already have that good foundation, how it's going to make your life enhanced in a way that it isn't right now. So, without any further ado, my guest, TG Watkins with Simpler Trading, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you very much for having me on your show.
I am absolutely excited because the things that I like to do is give the audience things that they can use. And like I said, most 12-year olds don't like to
Yeah.
do anything but play out maybe in the streets or on the video games. And you were off playing stock market with your dad, right? So tell us a little bit how that worked for you and how this captured your attention.
That's pretty much right. So my dad would, he made his own money and then he wanted to invest his own money. He said, why pay somebody else to do something that you can do? And so as I grew up, he was into the stock market. He was an investor, and he would go to different seminars and actually spend 2 or 3 days, every so often learning more and how to improve, basically doing what we do now. And so he brought me to the first one here in Texas when I was 12. And, for the most part, it kind of went over my head. I mean, we were talking about Fibonacci this and linear that, and, I didn't quite get it. But I do remember, and the one thing that really carried forward with me as I went off and I asked one of the presenters later on when he wasn't speaking, I said, is this really possible? Can people make money for a living doing this? I mean, this just seems like you're making it up. He said, no, of course we can. People were not born knowing how to trade. So this is something that can be learned and therefore it can be taught. So I thought, okay, I can learn this. And that was something that really carried forward with me, that as I got older and I started actually getting into this and becoming a full-time trader, sometimes when we had hard parts, like, you know what? Nobody was born knowing how to do this, and therefore I can go out there and learn how to do it. And that's what I kind of got myself into. And it was all because my dad gave me a little bit of a nudge and said, hey, I think you should look into this.
So they say it's as easy as a caveman can do it, but here we go. It's as easy as a 12-year-old can do it, because when you set your sights on something and you take the time to learn about something, you can actually not only achieve it, but then become interested in learning more and developing your skill. And developing your skill set and that's exactly what you did. You became an expert in the field, and now you share with others your expertise and help them reach certain goals.
Yep.
So, right now, you help people develop their goals through different things, one-on-one, different webinars,
Mhm.
different types of classes, and things like that. What specifically do you help them learn?
Well, here for me, at Simpler Trading, I am primarily a technical trader. So what we do is we look at the charts, we look at moving averages, and we really kind of just trade based on visual parameters. The way I kind of like to explain it, since I do have that engineering background, is that there's a physical world, there's a physical realm inside of the computer looking at charts. Price actually bounces off certain moving averages. You can see that it behaves in a certain way to where there are kind of bumpers, like if you're going down a bowling alley lane. And so what I try and do is take the confusion that when people first look at stock charts, it's just a bunch of squiggly lines and it's just a bunch of, up and down. It looks really crazy. But when you have somebody like me show you a few things that I've learned over the years, and you can shortcut this a little bit, you start seeing these patterns, you can start recognizing little setups. You can start recognizing that there are things that happen over and over and over again. And when you see something that happens more often than not, then you can take an educated guess about that and actually start applying some money to it, and then make sure that you actually have your rules and your parameters and your stop losses. But you see this pattern setting up and you say, I've seen this before, it usually works out. Here's my setup, let's go in. And then you can just ride the trend going on up, watching those moving averages. And then when it doesn't behave like that in the future and actually starts coming back over, you get out. But the whole way up, you're kind of, I'd like to talk about like a ratchet. You're setting that ratchet so as it keeps going up and up and up, if anything happens, you have that automatic emergency exit, and it gets you out, and now you've captured that money. And that's how you can take what you do have and make your financial future stronger and more independent for yourself in the future.
So it's really interesting that you talk about patterns, because you hear people say this was like the uh, crash way back at this particular time. This was like what happened with the bubble. This is what happened with this. When you teach people to learn about patterns, are you talking about things that happen, say, over a 5 year type of historical, pattern, or a 10-year pattern? Or is it something that you go over a further period of time so that someone can really predict something that they're looking at to make money on or prevent a loss now?
There's some of that. We do look back at historical events that have taken years and months to manifest. But since we are kind of in the business of making money now, we want to trade. We want to be a little bit more active. So while we look at stuff that does take time over the course of years, really what we're trying to get down to is days and hours and sometimes into the week category. Like right now we're looking at things that turn around in a matter of a few days, and then they can carry on a pattern, carry on that move for the next few days, few weeks, maybe even a month and a half, month or two. So
Okay.
we're really trying to capture that money sooner in a quicker time frame than this whole year-long stuff. So that's more of like an investor, where you can say maybe buy Coca-Cola and you hold and you sit on it for years. We're not quite like that. We like to be more active. We're going to be buying something that, okay, the earnings report just came out and this is good. Let's jump on this, and maybe it'll run and go up for several percent over the course of the next week, 2, 3, maybe even a month.
Okay, so here's another couple of questions that I have. One, I'm going to give them both to you at the same time. One is, so if I'm thinking about getting into trading, and let's say I only have, I don't know, $500,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even less. Okay, I want to buy a couple of stocks. Do I just buy one share or two shares? Or here's another thing, do I go into penny stocks? I mean, are either of these thought processes the way to go to make money?
Those are definitely the questions that we get all the time. So
Okay.
what I usually say is to learn how to do something like this. Think about training wheels on a bike, right? You've got that safety net. When we say about trading, you should really just start paper trading to begin with. You don't want to use real money because you're trying to learn something completely new. You're trying to learn this skill. The market is a little bit tricky, it's a little bit of a different psychology. And so we want to make sure that you have your mind fully open and that you don't have money on the line. Because when you have money on the line, you're really closed to being able to learn and to explore and make those mistakes and fall off the bike a little bit, because maybe you're going to push the wrong button. There's maybe you're going to go up when it should be going down. you need to make sure that you have that safety net of basically no money so you can learn this. And then you can, once you've practiced a little bit, once you start to catch on to this, you can realize that, oh, okay, I'm getting this. I see these patterns. This starts making sense. And you've done this all without losing any money. And once you've proven to yourself that you can make these setups and you see it over and over and over, then you can start applying some money to it. So an account, like you said, if you have $500, maybe a little less, you could just go out there and buy one share. Kind of get your toes a little bit wet, because you don't want to throw $500 all in your first trade if that's your entire account size. That's very
Right.
risky, and you risk all of your entire account. So maybe buy one share, maybe buy two shares. It depends on the cost of the share and how much you have in your account. And then going to the penny stocks, just because they're cheap and maybe you can pick up 200 shares and it still only costs you maybe $100, we also like to say that the cost of a share is kind of the intrinsic value of something. I mean, think about it. Amazon is up to a couple thousand, you know, Tesla is several $100s. There's value. There's a reason these things cost what they cost, because they've appreciated to that. Now,
Right.
I do like to deal with stocks that are $20 up to $100 and around there. When you get down into the penny stocks and literally like pennies or under $5, you kind of get into the Wild West trading, and it becomes really, really risky. And there's maybe not enough volume to move things in a predictable way. So those patterns tend to fall apart. So go for quality, go for just paper trading first so you can learn your way. And then when you do start using real money, make sure you only buy a few shares at a time so that you kind of keep your risk low in case you do make some mistakes. It doesn't damage your account too much.
This is really smart advice. And I've got to tell you, with personal questions that I've had about this over many years when I've talked to financial advisors, I have never heard anyone say, hey, use paper money. It's usually talk to me, I can share this with you, or just read up about it, or
Yeah.
look at the market, and way back when it was take the newspaper.
Well, there is some
Newspaper.
differences. We are not a financial firm. We don't handle anybody's money. We are an education firm. We are trying to teach people how to take charge of their financial future, how to make money with their own skill and their own knowledge that they then learn from us. The same thing, like when I was younger and I was trying to learn, I was learning from other people who were like me, who were teaching me this kind of stuff to say, hey, this is what works for me. I'm going to teach it. I'm going to show you. And if this works for you, then you can take it and you can move on.
I,
Now, there were some instances that for me, some of the ways and methods that the mentor or the teacher taught didn't quite work for me, but I had to take some of those nuggets and go a different direction and apply it to what did work for me.
I love what you're saying because education is the key
Mm-hmm.
to really becoming successful in anything that you're doing. And oftentimes we get very scared or fearful of our finances. And really, we have the ability to move forward in this direction. And oftentimes, when we get into a position where our lives we have not taken and looked at this, or we have had someone else handling this, and there are people who have followed the tools and resources that I've given them because they have been in a situation that isn't healthy and they're trying to move into a healthy position. They are now at a point where they need to have the education to move in this direction. I am so impressed with what you're telling me that you are able to equip them with this. This is the right tools for anybody, I mean, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
but in particular for those that have not taken the steps where they've been in a position to learn this themselves. I like what you're saying that your company want to educate people in being able to manage their their finances.
Yeah, we want to
And
empower people and give them the right tools.
yes, this is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
incredible. And what you said, you get these questions, and I think all of us do have a common a common ground with, well, what about this, well, what about this, and we just don't know, and sometimes we don't get the right answers, and that still leaves us in a position of fear, and we can't move beyond that until we really can overcome that particular fear, and once we do, we move forward. So you do this, and I think that this is incredible because once we have those tools, like I said, and you mentioned this, we're empowered.
Hmm.
So you can do this through the webinars that you give
Yeah.
and through classes that you give in person in Austin, correct?
That is correct. Now, not often do we have it in person because I mean, we have the internet nowadays and it works really,
Uh-huh.
really well. And so we do get people literally from around the world who are our subscribers and our clients and learn from us because the stock market is universal. And we do have classes in person, but they're kind of becoming few and far between now with the advent of really good internet, and people can just tune in that way. But we have our technology is up and running. We do webinars. We have classrooms on our webinars. This is really good. And we have people that actually talk to us. We have chat rooms. We have all
Mm.
sorts of stuff, and we're doing this all day long.
Let me ask you a question. If
Yeah.
I were in a position where, let's say, I didn't have any funds, at cash on hand,
Yeah.
to be able to invest in trading, and even at a lower level, but I had CDs or I had some other type of funds that were put away, but I couldn't, they weren't quite accessible. Is there a way to use those funds to be able to do trading?
Somewhat. I will go back to what I said, that if you're going to be learning how to do this, you should not use real money. You want to just use a paper account. And you
Mhm.
can sign up for a free chart platform. Thinkorswim is one of the ones we really like. You can sign this up for free. That way you get your charts and you can start learning how to do this and you can practice. I mean, that's really the whole point is, I get people all the time say, well, I don't really have money to do this. I want to learn, but I don't have money. I
Yes.
said, that's fine. You really shouldn't be using money in the first place when you're starting. And so the fact that you don't have money is great because it means that you will be practicing and practicing and practicing so that when you do have money one day, you already have the skills and the tools and the knowledge to know how to do this. So now you can actually start applying it. Now, maybe going to your thing about the CDs, when you're ready, and I really stress when you're ready to do this, you can liquidate your CDs. I mean, you can cash those things in at some point. Maybe you
Okay.
have bonds. You can cash those in at some point, and then you can acquire your money that way.
I absolutely love this. Do you know of any challenges, or would you say that there is a common challenge people come to you with that really is the easiest one to overcome?
Basically, that one. Personally,
Okay.
from me, since I'm a younger guy in this range in this industry, a lot of my friends see what I've been doing and been doing for a long time, and they always say, "Yeah, yeah, that stocks. It's something I'd really like to do," because they just know about it, they hear about it, and they think, well, there's good, easy money there, and wouldn't it be great if your money just grew on its own? And so it's always something that my friends say, well, yeah, I'd like to someday, but I don't really have money to spare for that. And that's where I go back again. I say, that's fine. Really, you should be practicing now. If you have any interest in this, practice now with paper money. That way, when you do feel like you have enough money, you can start throwing some at it, and you've already spent the weeks or months or years that you want to until you have that money that you want to work with.
I love what you're telling me, and I would like my audience to be able to connect with you. Please give them the information on the best way to reach you because you know this best. And I will tell you to learn from someone who has been doing this since they were 12. I would like them
Mhm.
to connect with you directly and how they can get involved with your classes.
Yeah. So simplertrading.com is the company website that I'm with. My specific channel that I use is Moxie Trader. So when you guys go there, you'll see everything about Moxie and whatever. My
I
YouTube
like having
channel,
looks.
yeah, my YouTube channel is Moxie is on my at Moxie Trader, and then my Twitter is Moxie underscore Trader. So at Moxie underscore Trader.
TG, thanks so much for being with us today. You have really given such a very easy way to look at this
Well,
and to
that's what
get
we try and
started.
do. We try and make it simple.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Great. Appreciate it, Rebecca.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille. This is an area that I really think is important for all of us to take a look at because many times we tend to look at trading in a way that we want to leave in the hands of somebody else. And sometimes it's just because we have a fear, or it's because of lack of knowledge. And with the information TG shared with us today, we really can equip ourselves and just move forward in a way that's going to set us up with a really successful foundation. So get the education, take a look at what he's got to offer, because I've got to tell you, just with the information he's given us today, I know I'm excited because it sounds much simpler than even what I thought it could be. So take a peek at what he has to offer. I'd like you to share this with all your friends, your family, everybody you know on social media and in person, as well as all those you don't. Thanks for tuning in.